So now that the pot part of the flower pot is together, again, we just did this here, we're now going to assemble the flowers. So we're going to assemble them all, and then at the end we will add them to the pot. So the first thing I like to do is just lay out all the pieces and make sure that I have everything and everything is in the right order and I know which parts go to which flowers. So there are 3 types of flowers. The first type is these ones that kind of look like a rose. Now, if you see these 5 parts here, these go to the flowers that look like this. They're like a bigger kind of rose looking flower. You have 2 5-layer ones. So I've got the blue 5 layers, I've got purple 5 layers. It's a slightly smaller version. And then I have 3 of these little small ones. Let's see if we can get in there. So I've got big ones and then I've got smaller. So these are 5 layers and then I've got 3-layer ones. So a 5-layer, a 5-layer, and then 3 of these 3-layer ones. Then I also have the flowers that look like these and these. And the parts for those look like this. There's 2 layers, and they kind of look like the spokes on a bicycle. And there are 3 different sizes of those. You can figure out which is the largest and which is the smallest by just laying them out on the table and looking at the differences. And then for each one, you're going to have a center that looks kind of like this little spiky wheel. And you're going to have this thing that looks like a saw. And again, to tell which one goes to the smallest and which one goes to the biggest, just lay them out on the table. The largest center goes to the largest flower, smallest center goes to the smallest flower, and then the coordinating color of saw goes with that center. Now we also have these ones up here. And those look like this. This or this. There are 2 layers. And I will say you do need to be careful getting these and these mixed up. You can tell the difference by looking at the very edges. These 2-layer ones have a little bit of a texture, whereas the rose ones are more of a smooth petal. So you're going to want to make sure you have the 2 of those, and you'll notice that one is ever so slightly smaller than the other. And again, we have 3 sizes. Lay them out on the table to tell which size is which. And then the centers, there are 2 layers that look like this. And then a tiny little circle and a tiny little star. And again, to tell which is the biggest and which is the smallest, just lay them out on the table and you should easily be able to tell. So I'm going to start with assembling these large roses. I'm going to start with the smallest layer. And I'm going to fold in the petals, each one by one. Then I want to start with one. I'm going to crease it in half, like so. And I almost want to roll it, pushing it towards the middle. Then I want to work in a star pattern. So I'm going to take this leaf and I'm going to kind of curl it around that last one. Again, working in a star pattern, I'm going to come over here, curl this leaf around. Then I'm going to go over here, curl this leaf around. And then last but not least, that 5th one, curl it around. Now, you will notice we have what looks almost like a tiny little rosebud. You're going to flip it over on the back where that flat part is. Put a little dab of hot glue in the center. You could actually put a little more of a generous blob on this. You're not going to hurt it. I want you then to glue it to the center of the next one. Now when I do this, I like to offset it. So where there's a dip between the petals, I put that in the center of a petal on the next layer. And we're going to do the same thing on this. We're going to work in a star pattern. We're going to pick a petal, fold it in, fold another one in, fold the next one in, fold the next one in, fold the next one in. Just like that. Flip it over. Add a blob of hot glue. And again, stick it to the next layer, offsetting the petals. I'm going to curl this one in. Again, same thing as I did with the last layer, working in a star pattern. You'll get quicker at this as you go. Another blob of glue on the back. I've also put these together with the sticky dots that you can get for scrapbooking. Also works pretty well. I like the hot glue a little better just because it tends to hold better over time. But if you maybe are doing this with a child, and you don't want to use the hot glue gun, or if you're just maybe some people are not comfortable with a hot glue gun because it is hot. You could use those sticky dots, or you could also use tacky glue or something. You would just have to wait between each layer for it to dry enough. Then we're going to fold this last layer in. This last layer, they're getting bigger, so you kind of want to really make sure it folds and wraps around. Kind of creasing it a little too, so I'm kind of pushing it in there. That's perfectly fine. It just gives the petals a little more texture, makes them look not quite so flat. It's perfectly fine to do that. You don't need to be real gentle with it, or scared you're going to hurt it. You're not going to hurt it. Now you'll see we have something that kind of looks like a bud, flower bud. We want to unfurl it. So I'm going to take my pinky finger, or you could use your index finger, kind of push into the middle and encourage it to just open up like a real flower. You can get it as open or as half open as you want, but that is what your flower will look like. And now we're going to repeat that. We're going to set this guy to the side, and we're going to repeat the same process for the purple flower. So we're going to start with the middle. Work in a star pattern. Folding them in. Flip it over. Glue. Do the next layer. Just wrapping those petals around one by one. And I say a star pattern generally. It's okay if you don't follow the star exactly. You just want to rotate. You don't want to do one petal and then its next door neighbor and then its neighbor. If you do them kind of round in a circle like that, you'll end up with a flower that looks, kind of like a spiral. And so you just want to rotate them. Really, it's just kind of more about going back and forth, even if it's not perfectly a star pattern. Then our last layer here. And again, kind of put your fingers in the middle. It'll kind of unfurl like a real flower blooming. You have another beautiful little flower. Set that guy to the side. Now we'll do these 3 smaller ones. Start with yellow. Again, just start with the smallest one. Curl that first petal in, then curl the next one around it, working in a star pattern. And the next, then the next, then the next. Now these flowers are getting a little smaller, so it gets a little trickier to do these little tiny centers, but they're not too bad. You shouldn't have that big of a problem doing it. If you do, if it's too hard, just maybe try it again. It's okay. Things aren't always perfect on the first time, and that is okay. And our last layer. Little flower, let's watch him open up. Oh, look at that. It's like a beautiful spring day with the flowers opening. Beautiful. Go to our next one. Start with that center again, curl it in, working in a star pattern, curl the next leaf, then the one after that, then the next one across, and then the last one. Glue on the back. Put it right in the center of the next one. Again, staggering those leaves so that the divide between them is kind of in the center of the petal in the next layer. Okay, then our next layer. Beautiful. We have a little rosebud, and again, here comes spring, and the flower blooms. So beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. Set that one to the side. Now we'll do this last one. Got a nice dark purple one. Start with that center. Fold it in. Fold the next one. Then the next one. We're kind of wrapping them around each other. Like the little petals are just hugging each other. So happy inside that little flower. Dab a little glue on the back. Stick it together. Then wrap the next layer of petals. Some glue on it. Add our next layer. And here comes spring again. Watch it bloom. Beautiful. Beautiful tiny little rose. Set that to the side. You should have 5 of those roses now. These like this, you can see them all. And we're going to go on to our next type of flower.